In this topic, we will focus on how to use citations and references following APA's 7th style. Citations and references are closely connected, but they perform different functions. An in-text citation appears within the main body of your report and identifies the source supporting a particular point. A reference list entry appears at the end of the report and provides the full information that readers need to locate that source. We will consider first why references are important, second, how to identify the main elements needed to construct a reference, third, how to reference three common types of academic sources, fourth, when citations are required, fifth, when citations should be repeated, and finally, how to format the final reference list. Referencing is an important part of academic writing because it makes the basis of your work transparent. A reference list allows readers to identify the source you have used. It also gives them enough information to find and retrieve those sources themselves. For example, a reader may be interested in a theory, research finding, or methodological approach that you have discussed. The citation identifies the source briefly within your writing, but the reference list entry provides the full publication information. References also show where your idea, claims, and evidence came from. Academic writing requires you to distinguish between your own interpretation and information drawn from other researchers. This does not mean that every sentence requires a citation. However, when you use someone else's theory, concepts, arguments, findings, or methodological idea, you need to acknowledge the source clearly. Referencing contribute to academic credibility. It shows that your discussion is informed by appropriate evidence rather than being based only on your personal opinion. It also allows readers to check whether the evidence has been represented accurately. In APA style, you should include a reference list rather than a bibliography. A reference list contains only the sources that you have cited within your reports. So every source in the reference list should appear somewhere as an in-text citation in your reports. A bibliography may include additional background reading that influence your understanding but was not directly cited in the reports. APA reports normally use a reference list, so you should only include sources that are cited in your reports. This creates an important matching requirement. Every in-text citation should have a corresponding reference list entry, and every reference list entry should have a corresponding in-text citation. Most APA references can be understood through four main elements, which are the author, the date, the title, and the source. The author answers the question, who is responsible for writing this work? The date answers the question, when was the work published? The title answers the question, what is this work called? The source answers the question, where can this work be retrieved? The exact information included within each element depends on the type of source being referenced. For example, the source element for the journal article includes the journal information, but the source elements for a book normally includes the publisher. Before examining the example, it is useful to distinguish between a journal and a publisher. A journal is an academic publication that contains individual articles. Journals usually publish new issues regularly, and those issues are organized into volumes. Each journal normally focuses on a particular discipline or area of research. A publisher is the organization responsible for producing, managing, and distributing the journal. Many large academic publishers publish a portfolio of different journals across a range of scientific areas. For example, Taylor and Francis is an academic publisher, where qualitative research in psychology is one of the journals available through that publisher. The journal contains individual articles, including Brown's and Clark's article using thematic analysis in psychology. Similarly, the American Psychological Association is both a professional organization and an academic publisher. It published several journals, including Developmental Psychology, which appears in the example on the right. When you reference a journal article, you do not normally include the name of the publisher. Instead, the source element contains the journal title, volume, issue, page range, and a DOI link. You can usually find the four elements in two main places. The first place is the article PDF. The first page of a PDF will normally show the article title and authors. It will often also provide the year, journal title, volume, issue, page rank, and DOI. The second place is the publisher's web page for the article. The example on the left shows an article web page from Taylor's and Francis. The layout usually by other publishers may look different, but the same main information is usually available. Here, the article title is Using Thematic Analysis in Psychology. The authors are Virginia Brown and Victoria Clark. The journal title is Qualitative Research in Psychology. The publication information includes the year 2006, volume 3, issue 2, and page range. The DOI link is also provided here. The article PDF and the publisher's webpage should normally contain the same information. Be careful when copying a reference automatically from a website or database, because automatically generated reference may contain formatting errors, or incorrect capitalization, or missing information. You should always compare the generated reference with the required APS-7 formats. Although the four-element structure is consistent, the detailed formatting change depending on whether you are referencing a journal article, a whole book, or a chapter within an edited book. The three examples here show a journal article, a whole book, and a chapter in an edited book. The different colors identify the different components of each reference. The colors are only being used to help you recognize the structure. You should not use these colors in your actual reference list. We will begin with the journal article. The purple section shows the authors. In the reference list, you write each author's surname first, followed by their initial. Separate the surname and initials with a comma. When there is more than one author, place the comma between the authors and use an ampersand before the final author. In the example, the authors are written as now, space, initial G, full stop, space, J, full stop, immediately followed by a comma, space, high M, comma, space, initial P, full stop, space, A, full stop, comma, space, ampersand, space, fox, comma, space, initial S, full stop, and a space. The blue section shows the publication year. Place the year in round brackets and add a full stop after the closing brackets. The yellow section shows the article title. Article title use sentence case. This means that you capitalize the first word of the title, the first word after the column, and any proper nouns. You do not capitalize every major word. The article title is not italicized and is followed by a full stop. The next part provides the journal information. The journal title is written in title case and is italicized. Title case means that the main word in the journal title begins with capital letters. The volume number is also italicized. The issue number appears immediately after the volume number in round brackets. There should be no space between the volume and the opening brackets. The issue number is not italicized. A comma then separates the issue number from the page numbers. The page range is not italicized. You should use an end dash between the first and the final page numbers. Finally, include the DOI link when it is available. Present the DOI as a hyperlink. Begin with http://doi.org. Do not place a full stop after the DOI because the full stop could be mistaken for part of the link. The second example is a whole book. The order and dates follow the same general structure as the journal article. The purple section shows the author's surname and initials. The blue section shows the year in round brackets. The green section shows the book title. A book title is written in sentence case and italicized. If edition information is needed, place it in round brackets immediately after the title. The edition information itself is not italicized. A full stop appears after the title and edition information. The red section shows the publisher. In APS 7, you include the publisher's name, but you do not need to include publisher's city or country. The DOI is included at the end when one is available. In the example, Levitt is the author, and 2020 is the publication year. The book title is Reporting Qualitative Research in Psychology, How to Meet APS-style Journal Article Reporting Standards. This book title should be italicized and then followed by edition in round brackets, which should not be italicized. The publisher is the American Psychological Association and The DOI link appears at the end. For the whole book, the book itself is the work being referenced. This is why the book title is italicized. The third example is a chapter in an edited book. This type of reference includes information about both the individual chapter and the book containing that chapter. The purple section identifies the author of the chapter, not the editor of the whole book. The blue section provides the publication years, just like the whole book and journal article reference entries. The yellow section shows the title of the chapter, like an article title. A chapter title use sentence case and is not italicized. After the chapter title, write the words in. You then provide the initial and surnames of the book editors. Please note that editors' names are presented differently from authors' names at the beginning of a reference. For the editors, the initials comes before the surnames. After the editors' names include ed full stop for one editor or eds full stop for more than one editor in round brackets. The green section identifies the title of the edited book. The book title uses sentence case and is italicized. Information about the edition and page range of the chapter appears in round brackets after the book title. You should also use P full stop for one page or double P full stop for a range of page. Please also note that P or double P is used before page numbers for chapters in edited book, but journal article references gives the page range without P or double P. The publishers follow and the DOI is included at the end when available. In the example, Crowley is the author of the chapter. Writing your qualitative research report. The chapter appears in a book edited by Southampton and Forrester. The book is titled Doing Qualitative Research in Psychology, a Practical Guide. The chapter appears in the second edition, so you put second editions in the round brackets and page number from 315 to 334. Sage is the publisher and the DOI link appears at the end. The key distinction is that the chapter title is not italicized, but the title of the whole edited book is italicized. Across all three types of reference, please close attention to every comma, full stop, bracket, and space. These details are part of APA formatting rather than optional presentation choice. Once you have created a complete reference list entry, you also need to cite that source appropriately within the main body of your reports. You should use an in-text citation whenever you refer to information, ideas, or evidence developed by another source. This includes definition, theories, and concepts. For example, if you define the meta-analysis using Brown and Clark's work, you should cite their article. You should also cite claims, explanations, and arguments drawn from other authors. Research findings and statistics require citations as well, because readers need to know which study produced the results. Methodological idea and analytic approaches should also be cited. For example, if you state that your the meta-analysis follow Brown and Clark's approach, you need to cite the relevant methodological source. The citation should be placed immediately after the information taken from the source. There are two citation types. One is parenthetical and the other is narrative citation. They contain the same basic information, but they integrate the author into the sentence differently. For one author, the parenthetical form is Luna 2020 in brackets. The narrative form is Luna 2020 with Luna written as part of the sentence and the year in brackets. For two others, include both surnames every time the source is cited. In the parenthetical citation, use an ampersand between the surname. For example, Salas and D'Agostino 2020 in brackets with an ampersand representing and. In the narrative citation, write the word and, just like here, Salas and D'Agostino 2020 with the year in brackets. For the source with three or more authors, use the first author's surname followed by et al. From the first citation. For example, the parenthetical citation is Martin et al. 2020 in brackets. The narrative citation is Martin et al. 2020 with the year in brackets. Et al. Means and others. The full author list still appear in the reference list entry. An organization can also be the author. When the group author has a well-known abbreviation, write the full name and introduce the abbreviation on the first citation. For example, the first parenthetical citation gives National Institute of Mental Health, followed by NIMH in square brackets and the year. Subsequent citations may then simply use NIMH 2020. If the group name does not have a useful abbreviation, write the complete group name each time, such as Stanford University 2020. The main principle is clarity. Readers should be able to identify which source supports each idea and then look at the full detail in the reference list. This becomes particularly important when a paragraph includes several sentences or several different sources. When several consecutive sentences paraphrase the same source, you do not necessarily need to repeat the citation in every sentence. You should introduce the source clearly when the paraphrase begins. The following sentences may continue without repeating the citation, provided that it remains obvious that you are still discussing the same source. The connection can be maintained conceptually because all of the sentence clearly refers to the same study. You can also use linking language to make the continuation explicit. Phrases like this effect, additionally, the researchers also found, and these findings, they signal that the discussion is continuing from the previous cited source. In the example, Velev and colleagues are introduced in the beginning. The following sentence use phrases such as these effects, additionally, and these findings. These phrases shows that the same study is still being discussed. However, avoiding unnecessary repetition does not mean that one citation can automatically support entire paragraph. The source must remain clear throughout. You should repeat or reintroduce the citation when different sources support different points. In the next example, different combinations of sources support different symptoms. Repeated citations clarify which studies provide evidence for each specific point or symptom. Placing all of the sources only at the end of the paragraph will create ambiguity. The reader would not know whether every source supports every symptom or whether different sources support different statements. You should also repeat the citation when the paragraph moves from one source to another. When you later return to earlier source, reintroduce it so that the change is clear. A citation should also be reintroduced when a new paragraph begins, even when the new paragraph continues discussing the same source. A new paragraph signals a new stage in the discussion. Repeating the citation prevents the readers from having to assume that the source from the previous paragraph still applies. A useful question to ask is, could the reader identify the source of the statement without guessing? If the answer is no, include or repeat the citation. Once all citations and reference has been checked, the complete reference list must be formatted consistently. Your reference list should begin on a new page. Use the heading references, center the heading, and make it bold. Arrange all entries in alphabetical order according to the surname of the first author. The whole reference list should be double-spaced. Do not add extra blank lines between individual references. Each reference should use a heading indent. A heading indent means that the first line of each reference is aligned with the left margin, while any following lines are indented. This format makes the first order surname easy to identify, which helps readers scan the list. Now I'm going to show you how to create a heading indent in Word. First, in your reference list, select all references. Make sure that you select only the reference entries and not any unrelated text. Next, go to the Home tab at the top of Word. In the paragraph group, you click the small arrow at the bottom right corner. This opens the paragraph settings. Under indentation, you find the menu labeled Special. Open this menu and select Heading. Set the indentation amount to 0.5 inches. Depending on your word setting, this may appear as 1.27 centimeter. Next, go to the spacing section. Select the line spacing to double. Check the word is not adding unnecessary spacing before and or after each paragraph. Finally, click OK. Now, the first line of each reference should now remain aligned with the left margin, where the second and any later lines move inwards. You should apply the heading indents using the paragraph settings rather than pressing the space bar or tab key manually. Manual space and tabs often create inconsistent alignment and may change when the document is edited. After formatting the list, complete the final check for common referencing mistakes. The first common problem is having missing or unmatched sources. You may have an in-text citation but no corresponding reference list entry. Alternatively, you may include a source in the reference list that is never cited in the report. Also, names and years should match. The second problem is incorrect author formatting. In the reference list, use the author's surnames followed by their initials. For example, you should write Freud, space, ace, his initial, full stop, rather than Freud, space, his first name, Sigmund. In a standard in-text citation, use the author's surnames and publication year. For example, you should use Freud 1900, and 1900 should be in brackets. Or you can write Freud 1900, the whole citation in brackets. Do not use the author's full first name as part of the citation formats. The third common problem concerns and the ampersand. In a parenthetical citation, use an ampersand. For example, Salas and D'Agostino 2020 in brackets with an ampersand between the surnames. In the narrative citation, use the word and. For example, Salad and D'Agostino 2020 with the year in brackets. In the reference list, also use an ampersand before the final author. Remember that a comma separates the author from the year in the parenthetical citation. In the narrative citation, no comma is needed before the year because the year is already separated from the sentence by brackets. The fourth problem is incorrect punctuation. In the reference list entry, use commas between author surnames and initials, including before the ampersand introducing the final author. So, you should write authors, space, a, full stop, space, a, full stop, space, ampersand, author, space, b, full stop, space, b, full stop. Do not remove the comma before the ampersand. You should also use ADO carefully. There is a full stop after AL because it is an abbreviation. The correct parenthetical form is Martin et al. 2020 entirely within brackets. The correct narrative form is Martin et al. 2020 with only the year in brackets and no comma, as the year has already been separated by brackets. The fifth problem is missing or inconsistent formatting. Check the capitalization of title, article, chapter, and book title. Normally use sentence case, where journal title use title case. Check that the journal title and volume numbers are italicized in the journal article reference. You should also check that a whole book title is italicized. For the chapter in an edited book, check that the chapter title is not italicized, but the edited book title is italicized. Include the DOI link when one is available and present it in the correct hyperlink format. Finally, check every comma, full stop, bracket, and space. APA reference contain many small formatting details, and consistency is essential. Before submitting your report, compare every in-text citation with the reference list. Then, compare each reference list entry with the appropriate APA format for that particular source type. The key point to remember are that citations identify source within your writing. References provide the full retrieval information, and both must match. Accurate citation placements and consistent reference list formatting allows readers to follow your evidence and strengthens the academic credibility of your reports.